So having said that, let's look at the 4 earliest major civilizations in our history. And they are, of course, Egypt, Mesopotamia, which is modern-day Iraq, the Indus Valley civilization. This is also referred to as the Harappan, okay? Harappan civilization, because their capital is Harappa. And then the last one, of course, is China, right? Now the question then is, why is that these 4 are the early civilizations? And they have 3 unique characteristics, okay? The first is their latitude. They're actually in the same latitude. They're not too hot and they're not too cold, which makes them perfect for agriculture. Okay, that's the first characteristic. Second characteristic is that they are by major rivers, right? So Egypt is, of course, by the Nile. Mesopotamia has been called the Tigris and the Euphrates. Indus Valley, of course, has the Indus River, and China has, of course, the Yellow River, okay? That's the second major characteristic. This allows for you to build a fairly large city, okay? Because now you can solve the water and transportation problem, okay? And also agriculture. And the last characteristic, which is the most important, is they're by the sea, or they're by the ocean, which allows for them to engage in trade, okay? Transportation, bringing in new goods, new people, and new ideas. So Egypt has the Mediterranean, as well as the Red Sea. Mesopotamia goes into the Arabian Sea, which goes into the Indian Ocean. And so the Indus is the same situation, okay? Goes in the Arabian Sea and then the Indian Ocean. China, of course, goes into the Pacific. All right? So what will happen over time is that because of the trade location, they're able to build a very large city, okay, over time. So, but then what will happen is that as the city becomes larger and larger, they will develop colonies upstream and downstream of the river, okay? So they will build more colonies, and this is how you get civilization, okay? You always have a major city, and as it becomes too big, you have other places in order to expand your trade reach, okay? So the priority is trade. And as you can see, what's happening is that these areas are able to connect the entire world, right? So Egypt is able to connect Europe and the Levant and Africa, okay? Mesopotamia is able to connect Anatolia, Asia, Central Asia, and then Indus Valley is able to do the same thing, okay? China is a special case because of the Himalayas. So there is trade actually between China and these other parts, but not as much. And so China is a special case, and so that's why we don't discuss China in this class. Okay? So these 3 places are what we collectively call Western civilization. So you may have thought that Western civilization is just Europe and America. That's not true. Okay? If you just look at the history, these places have always been in contact with each other, and collectively, they built the foundations for Western civilization. Let me ask you this question. Looking at this map, where is the most strategically located place? You guys know? It's here, right? Does that make sense, you guys? This is right in the center of global trade. And guess what? This place is where human civilization began. This place is what we call Sumeria, Sumer, okay? And this is where writing was invented, okay? And this is where a lot of trade happened. Because if you just look at this map, Sumeria is what connects everyone to everyone else, right? If you're in the Indus Valley civilization and you want to get through Egypt, you have to first transport your goods to Sumeria, which then overland takes it to Egypt. Same thing with Egypt, okay? Same thing if you want to reach everywhere else. Does that make sense? That's why Sumeria was the first major civilization, okay? And they invented writing, as well as irrigation, as well as a lot of technology. And there's been a lot of debate about Sumeria because one thing that puzzles scholars and historians is the language the Sumerians speak is not the same as the surrounding areas, okay? So that's why a lot of historians believe that the people in Sumeria came from somewhere else. And that may be true. Why? Because this is the major trade route, right? And it's possible that what happened was that different people came together in this area to trade and they formed their own language. That is possible, okay? Also, scholars have been surprised or amazed at the rapid development of Sumeria. And that's why, okay, I don't know why, but there are some people on the internet who believe that aliens came to Sumeria and created humans, okay? These aliens are called the Anunnaki. And it's a really stupid idea. And what you learn in this class is that if you put humans together and they need to do something, they will do it very well. Okay, does that make sense? Okay? Necessity is the mother of creativity. It's because they have to come together to trade, to interact, that they create their own writing system. Okay? So if I were to take different people from the world and just dump them on an island, you guys would really quickly be able to develop your own language, your own writing system, your own civilization. Because again, necessity is the mother of invention. All right? All right, so that's the general framework we're working with. Any questions before I continue? Okay, good. All right.